English fans of soccer, they call it football, are famously passionate, opinionated and knowledgeable. But despite their devotion to the game, few knew or cared about Ange Postecoglou until now. Ange is the first Australian ever to be signed up as the boss of an English Premier League team. Now, make no mistake, he's in for a tough time because high-profile club Tottenham Hotspur has been a disaster of late. In desperation, they're banking on the Aussies' fast and furious style of play, something called angeball. Will it be enough, though, to turn Spurs' disappointment into triumph? Here in North London's Tottenham, football is a religion. It's emotional, it's generational. And as one of the oldest and historically most successful clubs in the Premier League, pride is always at stake. Stepping into the high-pressure and high-profile role of manager of Tottenham Hotspur is Ange Postecoglou, the first Australian ever to coach in the English Premier League. So, in this role, do you feel the weight of the world on your shoulders?
No, I don't. What I feel is, like, I can't believe that I'm actually, exactly where I've always wanted to be. So,
pinch yourself a moment.
Yeah, I do. It's just bizarre because, even as recent as maybe 5 years ago, me and my mates were talking about the Premier League. That's the competition, and now, the stuff we were talking about, I'm right smack bang in the middle of it.
Ange is showing me around the impressive digs at Spurs, an underperforming club that is about to get the unique Ange treatment.
You can't rely on your skill as a measure to not work as hard as the next person, because it's invariably in life the hardest worker will always end up winning, always, irrespective of what you're doing.
Did Tottenham players like to work hard?
Well, they will. They'll have no choice because, and I don't think there's anything. I think most people want to, but you've got to give them a reason sometimes,
The reason should be simple. Tottenham, a once mighty and dominant team, finished 8th on the table last season, its worst result in 13 years. The great hope is Ange has the magic touch to return it to its former glory days. Taking on this job, how big a deal is it for you?
Yeah, it's massive. I'm definitely an outsider, there's no doubt about it, but I'm kind of comfortable. I like that. I almost will, wear it as a badge of honour a little bit, that I'm here where no one expects me to be.
Coming into this club, is it easier for you to work with a club that is in a bit of a mess, or is it easier for you to join a club that's winning?
Well, I've never joined a club that's winning, so I kind of...
You should try it.
Yeah, I know. I should. I will at some point. My last job's going to be on a Greek island somewhere, taking over a club with a lot less pressure. But I've been a firefighter my whole sort of career. My first club, the club I grew up with, South Melbourne, hadn't won the league in 7 years when I took over, and we won it.
And the first club to win back-to-back titles.
And then I went to Brisbane, and they'd never won one. We won it there, and then won the Asian Cup with Australia. We'd never won anything. I went to Yokohama, they hadn't won anything in 15 years. They won something. I love that. I can't conceptualise myself going into some place where everything's running smoothly. It's just not me.
You always have hope, Brian. So you look at the
Commentator Max Rushton recognises how extraordinary Ange's rise is to the Premier League. Yeah, so the scrutiny is going to be intense.
Yeah, it is. Tottenham has such a huge history. They have a huge
In London, Max hosts The Guardian Football Weekly, the biggest football podcast in the world. And in Australia, he fronts the UEFA Champions League on Stan.
Wow. Giddy with excitement, Boz?
Yeah, I can't believe it.
The hottest topic right now is Big Ange Postecoglou.
Look at everything he's done and everywhere he's been and the success he's had, the success that he's earned and delivered, and not always with the best team. And actually, it's about results.
It's all about the football,
If you win, there'll be Spurs fans getting Australian flag tattoos, on their chests, right? It's like it's a simple game.
So it's crunch time in about 6 weeks when the season begins. Spurs will have their first home game here against Manchester United. Along with the excitement, just imagine the pressure on Big Ange. This club stadium, the biggest in London, can accommodate up to about 63,000 fans. That's a lot of refs judging whether the new coach is up to the task.
Well, he was a hero before. He's the Messiah for Tottenham now.
It's about doing something out of the ordinary, about having players with real flair, not waiting for the opposition to die of boredom. And so that's what we want. And we've been a bit bored these last few years, and he really cares about that.
Chris Paros has braved the English weather and a local pub to tell me about the team she's loved since she was 6, despite their poor form. She hasn't missed a home game in nearly 30 years. And with Ange at the helm, she doesn't plan on doing so anytime soon.
But it's going to put, the spring back in our step. One of the things that the club is built on is something that we're really proud of. The club motto was in Latin, which is audere est facere, which is to dare is to do. So it's all about daring, attacking, exciting football.
Ange's brand of aggressive and forward-playing football is so well recognised it's been given its own name. If you do think about where you've come, they're now calling your style of game angeball.
Yeah.
Wow. What is angeball?
What is angeball? Yeah, good question. It's football that, I would want to watch. And that is, when I was growing up, I loved watching teams who were exciting. I watched the players who were exciting. I love teams that score goals.
One of your fans has said you're a total legend who can make miracles happen. Do you need a miracle
No, I don't think so.
to have success here?
If you're talking miracles, me sitting here right now is probably the biggest miracle you'll ever come across. Because if somebody can chart a journey how a boy from the suburbs of Melbourne growing up in Paran ends up as a Premier League manager, if you can write that story from that point, people will say to you, no, that's Hollywood script, never going to happen. So if that can happen, that kind of suggests to me that there's no limits on what you can achieve.
Ange's story is incredible. He was just 5 when his parents, Jim and Vula, packed up the family and came from Greece to Australia by boat. They settled in Melbourne, where Dad worked long hours and was a hard taskmaster. But they shared one passion that bonded father and son: football. What would your dad say?
Hard to say, I was typical Australian immigrant. He would work day to night, like my mum, and I hardly got to see him except for the times we spent at the football. And they were the most precious time for me. But within that context, he was a hard man. There was nothing I could do that was going to be enough, and he was ever going to be pleased. So even getting this job, he'd say, yeah, great, but, you still have to be successful, don't rest on your laurels. And he taught me that, that ethic of just hard work, I kiss and cuddle my kids every day, tell them I love them, They're probably soft because of me, but...
Well, your dad never told?
No, he didn't, It just wasn't his way. He did in his own way, and I realise that now, but when he passed away, there was a period where I was at a loss, because I kind of think, well, why am I doing it now? Because for the whole time it was just to either prove him wrong or prove him right, either way.
For all his achievements as both a player and coach, Ange knows the lows of the game.
The time away from wife and family was too much.
His revenge has simply always been to keep going. How does facing failure drive success for you?
I've never allowed it to sort of be my driver. I've always focused on the positive things with that. So even when things were tough, I always had a belief in myself and in what I do.
Ange has had plenty of doubters along the way, but ultimately his results win them over. The spotlight now is on Tottenham Hotspur and how quickly they'll adapt to a style of play that may not bring immediate wins.
It's going to be a ride. I can't promise it's going to be a smooth ride. I can't promise that there won't be some bumps along the way.
Can you promise success?
I think what I will promise is, and what I've always promised, is that the team will play the way I want them to. When I've said I will, that they will. And with that, success will follow.
For such a nice guy, that sounds like my way or the highway.
Yeah, well, what makes you think I'm a nice guy? I mean, no.
So it is my way or the highway?
I mean, a little bit of it is. It has to be, I think. I think in every organisation, there needs to be some leadership, some clarity about what we're doing and why we're doing it. And that's my role. I've never been afraid to embrace that. But what I try and do is make people willingly accept jumping on the highway rather than me forcing them onto it.
So when you walk out today, just think about one thing. Right?
Watch Ange in action, and it's clear why his players are most likely to want to do it his way.
You think about the person in your life. As I've always said to you, it could be your mum, could be your dad, could be your brother, sister, uncle, grandfather, partner, friend, coach, that when you started, believed in you more than anyone else.
In 2016, when coach of the Socceroos, Ange famously gave this speech, winning over the hearts of his players as well as the nation, earning respect at home and abroad for Australia's most successful coach.
You wouldn't be sitting here today unless there was a person in your life who just gave you the most enormous love and belief that, you know what, I don't give a f*** what happens to me, what people say about me, what challenges I have, I'm going to f*** make it. All right, enjoy your lunch.
Ange's personality and style of football is clearly a winning combination. Last season, as coach of the Scottish Premier League team Celtic, he delivered an extraordinary treble trophy haul.
Champions, that's who we are.
Ange became their conquering hero.
You've embraced me, you've embraced my family.
Only this year to be declared a villain for taking himself and his special brand of football to Tottenham. The Scottish press are taking bets that you'll be sacked by Christmas.
Yeah, and to be fair, that was probably the last few jobs I've had. That's been the overwhelming sort of feeling at the start. That's okay.
You don't take that seriously, though, do you?
I don't. No, I don't take it seriously. I don't think anyone really does anyway. But who cares? I mean, where you start is not what's important. It's where you finish. That's what I've always focused on. And every club I've left, on the back of success. All I ever ask for is the opportunity to do what I do and let people judge after that, how they see I measure up.